Now available in paperback and Kindle Unlimited, The Man Crisis. Learn why so many men are struggling to find their way in an increasingly gynocentric world in The Man Crisis. Get your copy of The Man Crisis in paperback and Kindle Unlimited today. Yesterday, I did a video talking about Connor Betts, the white supremacist urban terrorist who participated in the mass shooting in Dayton, Ohio. And after doing some more research, I believe that the motivation for your Connor Betts participating in this mass shooting may be racially motivated. Now, your Connor Betts' sister was one of the victims in this mass shooting, and I believe that Connor Betts wanted to participate in this mass shooting because he was angry about his sister being in a relationship with a black man. And because he was angry about his sister being in a relationship with a black man, this was the thing that motivated him to go and put on this black body armor and this black gear, take out this long gun, and then go to shoot up the bar where his sister was hanging out, because he wanted to be able to kill not only her, but kill the black people she was involved with. Now, many people would see that as a bit of a shock, but when it comes down to many of these beta male white supremacist urban terrorists, this isn't surprising at all, because men like your Connor Betts oftentimes lead secret lives, and oftentimes they harbor their anger and frustration in a secret world, and they don't express it directly. And your Connor Betts racism clearly is something that he hid in the secret world, and it was something that he hid because he didn't want people to know that he was a white supremacist and a racist, and he often, to overcompensate it, would join up with many of these far left organizations in an effort to appear not racist. However, what many people don't know about many far leftists is that in many cases they are just as racist as many on the far right, and they oftentimes have the exact same views as individuals on the far right. And I believe that your Connor Betts was one of these individuals who had grown to become very racist and white supremacist, and he was harboring these feelings about black men, and that was one of the things that I believe made him so angry to be motivated to participate in this murder, was the whole idea of seeing his sister being involved with this black man. Now, your Connor Betts was a very deeply disturbed man, and he was one of these textbook quote-unquote nice guys. And when it comes down to the quote-unquote nice guy, oftentimes, again, they hide parts of themselves from the world, and they express their feelings in places such as the secret world. And your Connor Betts racism was something he hid in the secret world, along with his misogyny and his sexual deviancy. Now, your Connor Betts clearly was a misogynist and had a pattern of a deep-seated hatred of women, and that deep-seated pattern was something that he expressed oftentimes to people as young as his teenage years, when he made up things like that rape list and made up things like that murder list, and it was something that he expressed outwardly in things like this porno grind band he was a part of, where he expressed his misogyny and hatred towards women in a passive-aggressive way, passively in trying to say that it was satire, but aggressively being a way to express his deep-seated hatred and contempt for women. And I believe that that contempt for women, again, was one of the things that was another motive for him participating in the murder. The whole idea of seeing his sister being involved with a black man, this was one of the things that made him so angry and so hateful of his sister that he began to see her just like another black person and possibly believed that this was a reason to go out of his way to exterminate his own sister's life. Because when it comes down to these quote unquote nice guys, these nice guys, they have a very Jekyll and Hyde personality. If you're living in the smooth world and doing things the way they want, they will be your best friend and be very helpful. But if you do things that they don't like, that's when the monster comes out, and that's when they start expressing extreme hatred and contempt for you. So when you're dealing with a quote unquote nice guy, oftentimes, yes, they will be very, very agreeable and kind to you in the beginning, but the minute you start disagreeing with them or doing things that they don't like, that's when the hatred comes out, and that's when they start expressing their hatred towards you. And that's probably why your Connor Betts could just go out of his way to, as I see it, willfully and intentionally murder his sister, because he saw his sister in the same way he saw those black people. And it clearly shows me again how deeply white supremacist and deeply racist this man was, even though he, on the surface, was putting up this facade that he was this so-called very leftist person who was supposed to be so tolerant and accepting. But it's clear to me that that was a classic nice guy facade, because oftentimes your nice guys, what they will do is put on a facade so that they appear to be friendly and charming, and that could be seen in many of the pictures of his life as he was trying to present it to the world. But in actuality, he was living a double life where he could express his misogyny, his racism, and his hatred towards women and blacks. And that was done, again, as part of the porno grind band he was a part of, and it was done possibly in private on his social media and things like that. He was probably expressing all of that anger towards your women, because he had a deep-seated hatred of women way back from his high school days, where this man was sitting there again talking about rape lists and talking about women who he wanted to rape and talking about how people he wanted to murder. So there was a deep-seated misogyny issue in your Connor Betts for years, and I believe that there was some deep-seated racism in this man as well. And this was something that his parents went out of their way to bury under the rug, because the parents were in denial about how deeply sick your Connor Betts was as a man, with his sexual deviancy, his propensity for sexual violence, and his propensity for hate for violence against women. They were in deep denial about their son being this twisted, and because they were in denial, they made efforts to cover up everything about their son. And I believe that the parents went out of their way to try to get this boy a job. They tried to get him an education. They were trying to smooth things over so that Connor Betts could have a smooth world. Unfortunately, when you're dealing with nice guys, even if you try to smooth things over, these men are self-destructive, and when you try to smooth things over, what they will do is find ways to sabotage themselves. Now, your Connor Betts, in addition to the evidence talking about his deep-seated misogyny, there were numerous ex-girlfriends who talked about his creepy behavior, and I could see the pattern and profile that I've seen from numerous other nice guy beta males like Elliot Rodger in your Connor Betts, in his behaviors, the stalking behavior, like what one girlfriend said, waiting around to leave a letter to an ex-girlfriend. And again, that's quite troubling behavior. You're sitting there waiting around somebody else's home for people to leave so you can drop a letter to an ex-girlfriend. That's something a stalker does. And Connor Betts' behavior, again, from his high school days, you could just see the pattern emerging. This man was a ticking time bomb, and it was just a matter of time before he exploded in a rage. And sadly, because most of these white people were in denial about Connor Betts, what they did was deny the problem until it became too big. And this man wound up going out here participating in what I believe to be a racially motivated murder at this point. This mass shooting, as I see it, was just as racially motivated as the one in El Paso, Texas, and I believe the core reason why this man wanted to murder his sister was because she was involved with a black man and she was going to a black bar, and he didn't like the idea of her going to that black bar to be involved with that black man. So he wanted to exterminate the lives of those people in that bar. So when I look at your Connor Betts, I see another, again, textbook nice guy, but I see a textbook nice guy on the outside and a white supremacist on the inside, and one who was living a double life where he was pretending to be this so-called far-left tolerant guy. In actuality, he was nothing more than a racist and a white supremacist, and he was looking to kill black people, and he was looking to make black people pay for what he believed was the corruption of his sister. And he, as I see it, was a very, 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 very depraved person. And sadly, most white people, because they want to give a white male a pass, they didn't see how deeply depraved this man was. And I could see it from the jump with his high school days once more, because when I look at that whole thing with the rape lists, that right there was something people should have been looking at from minute one. And then the relationships with the girlfriends who were talking about how he was creepy and stalkerish, and the whole thing with the porno grind band, the music that talks about raping women and participating in all sorts of sexually deviant acts. This was a man who was just as disturbed as your Elliot Rodger, but just like Elliot Rodger, the white people who were his parents and the people in the community tried to sweep it under the rug instead of confronting this beta male and his behavior. And his beta male behavior, again, fit right in line with what I talked about in my book, The Man Crisis, as related to the sexual miseducation of the beta male, the sexual frustration of the beta male, and the sexual deviancy of the beta male. Because one of the reasons why these beta males go out here and escalate their behaviors is due to a sexual miseducation, where they start to think about trying to do, after they've been miseducated, going by Madison Avenue in Hollywood, trying to get into manhood by participating in these sex acts. And as they're trying to learn about sex, they're sitting there watching things like pornography and believing that it's real. And then what happens is, as they watch the pornography, they become desensitized, and then they start exploring sexual deviancy. And again, this is what I think was the core foundation of your Connor Betts depravity, is that I believe he was starting to be a sexual deviant. And this is what I believe was one of the things that was a problem for him, but in addition to being a racist and a white supremacist. And this white supremacist, again, he was a ticking time bomb, and sadly, he wound up exploding, and sadly, black people wound up losing their lives because white people did not want to acknowledge the clear and present danger of this beta male, Connor Betts. If you'd like to learn more about these deeply depraved beta males like Connor Betts and what motivates them to participate in their horrific acts of violence and the spectrum of violent behaviors they participate in, you can pick up my book, The Man Crisis, on Amazon.com in paperback, Kindle, and you can also pick it up on Smashwords, the iBookstore, and Google Play. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and coming to Kindle Unlimited, John Haynes, Dark Succubus. The man who rules the world is tempted by a sultry succubus in this all-new John Haynes series adventure. Get John Haynes, Dark Succubus in paperback or pre-order on Kindle Unlimited today.